So we're going to be talking about the keys to longevity. So my name is Juliette Bryant, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm a nutritionist and a superfood alchemist. And I really got a love for the earth and for plants when I was 8 years old, and I started having my own herb garden. I really wanted to grow, and so my parents gave me a little bit of the garden for me to grow herbs. And so the first things I grew were garlic, oregano, thyme, rosemary, sage, and it was so beautiful having that connection to them. Shortly after I started growing, my mother got multiple sclerosis, and this was really interesting because she switched our diet overnight, changed what we were eating, cut out animal fats, went on a whole food diet, and it really helped her. She really also started exploring lots of different avenues of healing. Her mission was to heal herself and to find out the root cause of what was going on. So she found out about mercury toxicity and had all her amalgam fillings removed and detoxed her body. And this was a long time ago, you know, before this stuff was all kind of common knowledge. But what it did is it planted seeds in my head, in my being. And one of the things that I noticed was that when she would eat something, let's say we were traveling, when she would eat something that wasn't kind of good for her, whether she'd have gluten or something that was processed, the next day she wouldn't be able to speak. Her muscles would be shaking a lot. She'd be having a lot of tremors. When she ate really well, she wouldn't have that. And interestingly, we moved to America because that's where beta interferon at the time was out ahead of this country, which is a pharmaceutical to help multiple sclerosis. And so she got in with the world's leading neurologist for MS, and he got her beta interferon. She was the first person in medical history that made worse because she had chronic progressive MS, and it was new. But what was interesting was watching, she also got cannabis from the government. Big bags of cannabis would come to us, and as a teenager I'd be like, thank you very much, I'll take a little bit of that. And it was interesting watching the effects of that. When she smoked, she could talk and her muscles would stop spasming. So I was seeing all these things, they were going into my awareness. And this really shaped who I was. I rebelled against it all, as we do, and stuck my fingers up to eating well. And then when I became pregnant with my first child, well, just before that, I was doing a lot of healing work, and I was really getting into healing. And one day I had a client that came, and the energy that came through me, I would always affirm that the energy for that person would come through was for their highest good and my highest good. And the energy that came through was so strong. The next day I felt like I had been hit by a freight train. My muscles hurt, felt like I'd run a marathon. And it was in that moment I made a commitment to myself, and I said, if I'm going to be doing healing work, if I'm going to be saying I'm here to serve other people and myself, then I have to get myself in the best shape possible to be the best channel. I have to put the best foods in my body so that when that energy comes through, I'm not hit by a freight train the next day. So that became my mission. In that moment, I made that commitment to myself and to the role that I had taken on of working in healing. I'll answer later, okay? I'm doing questions later. That I had to really align myself with the truth. So why I'm talking about this stuff is because this all led me into what we're talking about today, the keys of longevity. Because if we want to live a long and healthy life, which I hope we all want to live, then there are key fundamentals we need to look at. And what we're doing today is we're talking about that, but we're also talking about an inversion. So more and more, and I'm going to start with this inversion because this is something that I feel is really, really important for our awareness. More and more in society, we're told something's bad. And now my questioning goes, if they say this is bad, it's probably really, really good. So I've started to unravel, and the first thing that made me do that was salt. So we heard salt is bad. Salt's bad. We all heard that? Salt's bad for you. Table salt it's toxic waste. But actual salt is the key to life. We have to have salt in our bodies. And so when you start to look at this, it's like, okay, so if they're saying that salt is bad, but salt is actually the mineral of life, that's what it's known as, the mineral of life. So how can that be bad for us? Well, it's not. It's essential for health and well-being. A lot of people today are struggling with arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or joint problems, and this comes from, quite often, a lack of salt. Dehydration. A lot of people are chronically dehydrated, not because they're not drinking enough water, because the water they're drinking doesn't have the essential minerals that it's meant to have. It doesn't have those trace elements of salt. So this is super important that we start looking at. Recently I was in Peru and I went to Machu Picchu, and it was an incredible experience. It was a really amazing thing being over there, and the land there really spoke to me quite profoundly. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life being there. And one of the things that really resonated with me was that there's an unbroken tradition of honouring the earth. They've never stopped honouring the earth. Whereas here, they do this all that we've lost that connection a long time ago. Yes, there are some people who still honour the earth, but most people don't. We've been disconnected from that tradition. Whereas there, the mountains are alive. Everything is alive. Everything is pulsing with energy at such a huge rate. And so when we think about this, and when I was there and when I was feeling into it, one of the things that I was doing with people that I love doing, it's one of my favourite things, is what I realised years ago. I was sat with mugwort, and I realised that everything is vibration. And if everything is vibration, that means everything is sound. So if everything's sound, we're all making a sound that we can't necessarily hear. And so I was sat with mugwort one day, and I said, so everything's vibration, everything's sound, I want to hear your song. And mugwort sang to me, and I was blown away. And after hearing that, I thought, well, if I can hear mugwort's song, I can hear everything's song. And when I make all my different concoctions, all my remedies, how I make them is by tuning into the sound, by opening up to hear their sound. And it's like creating music, because I'm pulling the different strands in to create the symphony. And I can feel and hear when there's something missing. So you're making something, it's like, oh, there's a note missing. It's like if someone plays a chord and they're missing a note, it's like, something's not there. And that's how I make my remedies. So what I've started doing, I've been doing it for a while, is taking people to trees and getting them to sing into the tree. And you sing different notes, you go, oh, and you make different shapes with your mouth, and you hit a note and the tree sings back to you. And when I was in Peru, I was teaching the people I was there with. So we were in Machu Picchu and we're walking around. I was like, let's try it on this stone. Anyway, it was quite a remarkable thing, because I was standing on this stone. I was away from everyone, it's a huge stone, and I had my hands against it. I was singing into it, and there was this moment where the whole stone sang back, and it was like everything erupted into light in me. And I became one with the stone and one with the floor underneath me. And afterwards, there was a person stood from the group who was behind me, and she said, I got a picture of that. I said, oh yeah, great. And she said, look at this. And there's this light that is coming out of my body, shooting up, and it's got all kind of rainbow colours in it. And what was amazing, I said, oh, did you just see that on the camera? And she said, no, it shot out of you, so I got my camera out to get a picture. And so I have a photograph of this, and for me, what that was, it was the universe going, yes, what you're thinking, what you're feeling is right, and here's the proof of it. Because we like proof, don't we? We live in a world where we like to have evidential proof of things. We can feel it, but when we see something, it's like, that was what I felt, amazing. And so this whole thing of vibration really came into a huge part of my being when I was there, because I could feel the song, I could hear the song of the stones, of the rocks, of the trees, of the plants. And when I was there on the first day, we had these beautiful shamans come in, and they did a ceremony with the coca leaf. Now, coca is an incredible, incredible medicine that has been vilified hugely. So coca is what cocaine and Coca-Cola are derived from, but they are nothing like what the medicine of the coca is. So coca, the coca leaves, when you sit and you connect with the energy of it, it has the most incredible heart-opening effect. I was holding a coca leaf and I burst into tears. My heart literally blew open the moment I held it. And it was so incredible, that medicine. It was the most profound moment, I think, of the trip, other than the light. And I spoke to the shamans afterwards, and the shaman said something very interesting. He said, Mama Coca is here to teach us. She wants to come in. She said, Mama Coca has come in the back door with cocaine and come in the front door with Coca-Cola, but she wants to sit in the heart in her true form. And now is the time for that to happen. Now, when you look at coca, the coca leaf, and you analyse the medicine of it, there are 14 alkaloids. They reduce inflammation, help endurance, help oxygenation of the body. Interestingly enough, where there is oxygenation in our body, in our blood, there is no disease. It is through the acidity in our blood that we have disease. So that is one of its properties. What's happened with the coca is, again, this inversion. So the bastardization of it, because they've taken this leaf and they've gone, okay, there are 14 alkaloids. One of those alkaloids is a numbing agent. And that numbing agent is what we're going to use to make cocaine. So they've extracted, so 3 rubbish bags of coca leaves forms 1 line of cocaine, which is very wasteful, and they get rid of the rest. But actually, in the medicine of the leaf itself, we have all of these incredible longevity properties, these ability to really support our health and well-being. And not only that, I've got to watch the mic there, is to open our heart. That's one of the profound lessons of Mama Coca, is to open our heart. And we don't need to consume it. That's another thing. And some of you have heard me talk before, and this is such an important aspect. We don't have to consume the thing for it to work. So we can tune into it. So obviously we can't grow coca over here, and it's illegal in this country to have coca leaves or anything, but we can sit and we can tune into the energy of it, and we can invite that into our being, that heart-opening, beautiful properties of the coca leaf. We can bring that in. But why I'm bringing this up is because of this inversion that happens repeatedly. So where else can we see this inversion? Chocolate. Cacao, incredible medicine, amazing antioxidant, incredible for our health and well-being, the most bioavailable source of magnesium on the planet, 360 active chemicals and minerals in it. Super incredible. So what happened? It's been roasted, switches off a lot of the elements of it. It's been added to dairy and sugar, switches off more. So you take this medicine and you invert it, just like we've done with the salt. So now everyone's consuming something thinking, oh, now chocolate's unhealthy. So many people, when I talk about cacao and oh, I can't have that chocolate, I'm not eating chocolate, it's not good for me. It's like, yeah, the toxic waste over there isn't good for you, but cacao is a medicine. It's a powerful medicine. Again, what does it do? It opens our heart. Coca opens our heart, cacao opens our heart. So what have they done? They've shutting that down, because what do they not want? Us in our hearts, because that's where the power is. So if we want to look at longevity and we want to look at how can we be the strongest versions of ourselves that we are, one of the first things we have to look at is our heart, connecting into who we are. Another inversion. This is such an incredible inversion. I was caught in this inversion for so long. Tobacco. So I smoked when I was younger, toxic waste cigarettes. Loved them. First time I smoked, I was in a thrift shop in America, because I lived in America. I bought a lovely cigarette filter and Sobrani cigarettes, and I was going to a 1920s party, and it was all just for the look, and it looked so great. I loved it, and that got me started on smoking. And I stopped when I was 25, when I became pregnant with my first child. And thank goodness for that, because it cut me out of it. But then I became one of those anti-smokers. Oh, I hate it's disgusting. Oh, it's dirty. Oh, it's horrible. And I was like that for a very, very long time, until recently, when I started to look into tobacco, because this inversion thing was playing in my mind. I was like, have I just been caught in another inversion? Because obviously the cigarettes that are out there are bad, and they do cause cancer, but the tobacco doesn't. It's what's mixed with it, the formaldehyde and all these other things, the pyrenes, and it's terrible. But you look at the medicine of tobacco. Well, if you talk to a lot of shamans and that you say, if you could only have one part medicine, what would it be? Tobacco. Number one master teacher. You think, whoa, number one master teacher, tobacco. And you look at the stories of the shamans and the oral tradition of ayahuasca, they found it through tobacco. Shamans were sat in meditation with the tobacco plant, and the tobacco spirit said, you need to go to the jungle and you need to find the vine and the leaf of a vine and the root of another and combine them, and the tobacco taught them how to make the ayahuasca. So, okay, well that's pretty powerful. Tobacco is used in peace pipes to send prayers to the universe. Well, that's quite a remarkable thing, isn't it? So again, we see this inversion. Tobacco, master teacher, what have they done? Well, they've suppressed it. They've hybridized it, so the growing of it, the Golden Virginia and all these other people that grow it, are not growing something that is good. It's not the old medicinal version, which is Nicotina rustica. So if you can get a hold of some Nicotina rustica seeds, start growing tobacco. You know, there is that saying, let's overgrow the system, and this is what really needs to happen. We need to grow from the ground up. We need to work with the earth's currents and the cosmic currents, combine them, which then settles in our heart, and we expand from there. And this is how we can truly change what's happening in the world. Not by trying to change them, but by growing ourselves. And tobacco, I've been growing it. This is the second year I'm growing it, and I've been making tinctures with it. And the medicine of the tobacco, obviously you have to be careful because in high doses tobacco is very toxic, but so is a lot of medicine taken in the wrong doses. It's the balance. But when you sit with the tobacco plant, I sit in my greenhouse, it's growing in my greenhouse, and I sit with it. It's got beautiful yellow flowers. It's such a lovely plant, and Nicotina rustica is the original version. It's the can't think of the word, original version. So that's what we want to be using. And you sit with it, and it's got such a gentle spirit, but so powerful. The medicine of it, just being sat in its presence is like, oh, so exciting to be around. But what they're finding now about tobacco, let alone it's sending prayers off to the universe, you know, that in itself is incredible. But what they're finding about nicotine now is nicotine destroys nanotech. Nicotine destroys viruses in the body. It helps with the respiratory system. Ironic, isn't it? Nicotine helps our respiratory system. Just leave that there. That's an irony, isn't it? But this is this inversion that we're looking at all the time, where they take health and they switch it so we don't see where the medicine is. The power is always right there. And most of the time we're like, oh no, I can't take that. Oh, I can't touch that. Oh no. So when we look at tobacco, I've got a beautiful paste here, which I brought back from Peru. And this is a tobacco paste. And I was a bit nervous using it. I've sat with the tobacco plant, you know, and communed with it, but I was like, oh, I don't want to become addicted. I don't want to start smoking again. That was the first thought that went through my head, which I thought, wow, their nut job of inversion is so powerful. And then I sat with it and I was like, is this all right? Like, does my body resonate with this? And I got such a massive yes. And I was like, okay, so let's just do what I love doing, which is microdosing anything. For me, that is the most important thing. We don't need a lot. We don't need a lot of anything. When I was in Peru, I worked with San Pedro, the cactus medicine. When I was deep in the earth, the cactus said to me, and the earth said, you don't need to do big journeys. You don't need big doses. That's not what it's about. It's about the micro. It's about the vibration. It's about entering into that vibrational strand, and you don't need anything else. Some people may need a big journey because we're all at different places, but ultimately, why we journey, why we take these things, why we work with them is because we're trying to connect with our soul. We're trying to remember who we are. I know who I am. I'm pretty certain who I am. I feel my connection to the earth and to the cosmos, and I'm so grateful that I know my purpose and that I'm living that purpose. And so for me, it's like, I don't want anything to take me out of that, but I can have minor adjustments when you bring in the energy of different things coming in. So this tobacco paste, if anyone wants to try it later, you just get a little bit, like a little tiny bit like this, and you rub it. On your gum. What was really interesting, and it burns a little bit, what was really interesting was that one of the women there on the retreat had lots of dental work, and it was holistic dental work, but her mouth was so inflamed. And she's like, I feel like I've been on fire for 3 months. And she started rubbing the tobacco paste on, and within 1 day, all the inflammation, all the pain went. So the tobacco, what does it do? How does it work? Well, it reduces inflammation, one of the things. As I said, it's destroying nanotech. It's working on supporting our respiratory system. It helps remove parasites from the body. So these are all really fundamental things that are super important. And no, don't go out and get cigarettes and start smoking. I'm not advocating that. But grow your own tobacco, dry the leaves, and then if you want to use them in a peace pipe to send prayers, amazing. Get a tobacco tincture, you know, grow the leaves, make a tobacco tincture. See if you can get hold of some of the paste, or you can work with nicotine patches. A woman I've been working with, vaccine damaged, really struggling. We've done lots of different protocols. She's got so much better than she was, but there was a missing element. And I said, you need to get on nicotine patches. An 1/8 a day. And the results she's had are phenomenal. I've now worked with lots of people who are vaccine damaged and got them on the nicotine patches, along with other things. So working with medicinal mushrooms, working with shilajit to detox, NAC, things like this. But the nicotine has such a key element to it. Focus and concentration, cognitive function. They're now studying it a little bit to look at Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and its ability to support that. So many things we don't know. But for me, it's like, this is what we need to start doing. We need to switch the way our brain works to look at things and question everything. Because we have to start to empower ourselves and not trust the bollocks that is out there. Because it's this constant inversion. So when we're looking at longevity, first of all, it's reclaiming our health. It's reclaiming our sovereignty. It's reclaiming the fact that we have all of it inside us. We have all the knowledge, we have all the everything inside our being to live a long and healthy life. Our genetic potential currently is 136. Our genetic potential is we can live to 136 currently. I'm sure that's going to change and be a lot more. I looked at it a few weeks ago. 136 we can live to. That's what we can.
Did you know in Japan apparently there's over 100,000 people that are over 100 years old?
There was an incredible study done, the beginnings of an incredible study, I think it could be carried on, called the Blue Zones, that was done a while ago, where they looked at where people have lots of people who live over 100 and who are healthy, not people who are over 100 and in hospitals or hospices or really infirmed. And it was very interesting looking at the study. There's lots of differences within the study. Some people were vegetarians, some people just ate fish, some people ate meat. You know, there are lots of variations within diet, but there are some key similarities to these. Number one, sense of community. It was one of the most important things, a sense of community, feeling like you belonged, you have a place in your community. And this is such an important thing because this is what's being dissolved as well, community. People don't trust people. And people don't give up their time and energy very often to do things for others. I'm the head of my youngest son's PTFA, and it's brilliant because I'm transforming a lot of things. Love it. The first rule, I was like, you know, I have to go a bit slowly, but I was like, any event I'm doing, there's no aspartame. We're not having drinks with aspartame in. Because this is another inversion, sugar-free. So sugar's bad. Yeah, the refined sugar is toxic waste. Again, we've got another amazing inversion there. But actually, sugarcane is amazing for us, filled with electrolytes, minerals, all of this stuff. So what have they done in society? Sugar's bad. Okay, yes, the junk you're selling is. So now we're going to cut sugar out. We're going to put sugar tax, and instead we're going to fill it with neurotoxic waste. And that neurotoxic waste, 99 different symptoms the FDA have registered with aspartame. From muscle spasms to brain tumours. Quite a lot of things. My aunt, very interesting, she used to work for Coca-Cola, and my mum had multiple sclerosis, as I said in the beginning, and she said to me, she called me up one day, she said, I'm really unwell. What's going on? She said, I think I've got multiple sclerosis. She said, the doctors think it's that. And I was like, okay. My uncle's got multiple sclerosis, my mum had it. 3 of them were a year apart, and I'm like, this is interesting. But then I said, just talk to me about your diet. What are you drinking? What are you eating? So she said, oh, I have Diet Coke. I was like, how many do you have? She said, 3 or 4 a day. I was like, okay, first of all, stop that. Cut out the Diet Coke and then we'll talk in a week. Within a week, 90% of her symptoms had gone. So impressive, isn't it? She doesn't have MS. She had aspartame poisoning. And this happens regularly.
They put them in the...
Fruit shoots.
No, in the vitamins. My husband went to Boots
Yeah.
and got, to get healthy, some multivitamin Centrum. And if you read the ingredients, yeah, it's there.
We have to be so aware and wise now, turning over everything. What's in it? What's in it? What's in it? So my aunt was like, okay, I was talking to her about stevia because I was growing stevia. I use stevia that I grow in my products. I think it's a beautiful plant. So she bought this stevia thing. She said, look, you'll be really proud of me. And I do this for everything. Flip it over, that's the first thing. And it was stevia extract. It was 2% stevia extract mixed with, guess what? Aspartame. And I was like, look, I'm really sorry, but this is not good. And she's like, oh, I thought I was doing the right thing. And it's like, yeah, well, that's part of this inversion. They dress things up to look like they're good for us when they're not. And so this is where we really have to keep dialing down. And it's not just also about listening and going, oh, this person said this is good, so it must be good for me, because we are all different individuals. So we have to tune in and we have to have that ability to listen to our body and go, is this right for me right now? Because you might not need the nicotine and it might not be good for your body right now. You might not need cacao. It might not be good for your body right now. I had to stop having cacao for ages. I love cacao because it's high in histamines, and it was shooting my histamines through the roof when perimenopause started. So now I have to have it. I know my limits and I work with it as a beautiful medicine, and I have to have that balance. So it's knowing your body. And one of the ways that's a great way to test if you're not sure is body dowsing. So you have your feet on the ground and you say, show me my yes. And then you say, show me my no. And your body moves, and your body might move in different directions. So before you ever test anything, always check what's my yes, what's my no, and then hold something. And you say, is this right for me right now? And that is the key part of the phrase, right now. Not yesterday and not tomorrow, because our bodies change. Everything is constantly evolving and changing. So we need to be in that awareness on a regular basis. Do I need this right now? So when we're looking at this longevity, this sense of community, that's where I was going with that, is such an important thing. And I see that in the school. Some of the people are like, you're putting a lot of effort into all these things. It's like, yeah, because I want to grow a community. I want to grow people who care about their environment. Children, adults, grandparents, younger siblings who care about what's going on there, about that. So I get them growing foods, I get them involved so that they are part of the community. Because this is one of the most important things, to feel at home, to feel a place. What did you want to say, sweetheart? No? So that's a really important thing. The second thing was looking at our gut. If we want to be healthy, if we want to have a long life, our gut is one of the most important things that we can look at, that we can really start to connect with. And parasites are a fundamental thing that we address. So there are parasites all around, parasitic people, parasitic energies, parasites inside our bodies, they're everywhere. And so doing a regular cleanse is so important, because what happens is these parasites inside our body are stealing our energy. I was talking to someone earlier and he had a really interesting insight, and he said, I think that entities and attachments can come in through parasites. I said, well, that kind of makes sense, because there has to be, what's going on inside your body is a reflection of what's going on outside your body. So generally, if you've got parasites in your body, you're leaking energy somewhere. There are holes in your field, because everything is a mirror, isn't it? Everything is a reflection of what's going on. So parasites, what do? Well, first of all, they steal the top of all your nutrients. So all the good food you're eating, they're taking the top bit and saying, that's mine, thank you. They're creating brain fog, lethargy, just a lack of real deep connection. It's like they shut off, I feel. the roots down into the earth. They're kind of stealing that energy. So they're harvesting our energy, basically. Anything else harvesting our energy anywhere?
Towers.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy harvesting. So we have to become very, very aware of what's going on so that we are really in our power, we're really strong. So doing parasite cleanses on a regular basis, I do a big one every year. Every January, Giles and I go on a parasite cleanse. We do it for 3 months and we cut out everything and we just become really focused. I mean, we're really focused on health and well-being all the time, but it's like an extra layer of like, let's really hit it. Let's really tune in. What do we need? What's that extra layer that needs to happen? And it's brilliant because then come spring, you're like, I feel amazing. My energy is renewed. Just as the sap's rising from the earth, you're ready to go. Because we are cyclical beings. So part of the keys to longevity, part of this whole cycle, is looking and knowing that we have to have time to go in and be still. We have to have time to reflect. We have to have time when we're like, yes, it all goes in cycles. We cannot be 100% all the time. Because then there's no time for integration and growth. And we have to have that rest. It doesn't have to be long, but we have to have that stillness. It's like, has anyone done kirtan here? You know, you do the singing and you're like, whoa, full power, and it's amazing. If anyone sang with the Krishnas, I love it when Krishna starts singing and I get so into it. And I feel the bliss and it's incredible. And then the magic is when it stops and there's silence and you're just like lost in the bliss of silence. Because you've had the expansion of energy and then you have to have that integration as it slowly sinks into all your cells. And that's such a beautiful thing. So, you know, with our gut, with our whole lives, looking at when are we resting? When are we going within? And ideally trying to do it following the cycles of the seasons is really important. Because when it's cold, the body wants to naturally go within. So it's a great time to cleanse and clear because you don't necessarily want to see people. It's another inversion, Christmas. The winter solstice celebration, then it's meant to be from there a time to go within, a time of quiet and stillness and reflection. As the sun has gone down and we're entering into that dark space, it's meant to be that we go within our beings and we rest and we recharge. And what do? We invite loads of family round, we eat copious amounts of food, we drink copious amounts of alcohol, well some people do, and have this huge thing that totally goes against the energy flow of the whole earth. And people wonder why they become frazzled and have lots of arguments with family. I love Christmas, it's a beautiful time, but I don't like being in this franticness and I don't do it. I celebrate the solstice and have a really nice celebration of that, and then it's like, let's have quiet family time. Let's enjoy just stillness and being together in a slow, gentle way, not having to do 20 million courses of food. Like, why? So following these cycles is super important. So when it comes to parasites, clearing them out is really important. There are different ways you can clear them out, lots of different ways. As I said, nicotine is very good for helping kill off parasites in the body. Ivermectin is another a way to kill off parasites. Wormwood, black walnut hull, cloves, neem, all of these things are brilliant mimosa parasite killers. Garlic, another great one. So working with these things on a regular basis is really important. So I take garlic regularly, I take aged garlic extract, and for me that has been one of the saviours of my life, finding that. I used to be quite a sickly child. I think if I was born in the a long time ago, I would have been one of those people who died quite young, because I had my lung collapsed when I was 3. I've had pneumonia 4 times in my life. I had bronchitis constantly. I was quite an ill child. I had terrible asthma, really struggled with my breathing. And when I was in my 20s, I was like, you know what, I'm not putting up with this anymore. This isn't my reality. I'm not having this as me. And I transformed it through diet, through parasite cleanses, through getting in touch with the emotions that I was holding in my lungs, this fear of being present in the world, this fear of truly being who I am and breathing in life. That's what the breath's about, isn't it? It's about going, I'm fully present, I'm fully here, I'm fully incarnate in my body, and I'm ready. So when we struggle to breathe, it's saying I don't feel safe in my body and I don't feel safe here. So when I started to work with that and go, you know what, I do feel safe here, I am meant to be here. It was part of the whole grounding as well, and actually coming fully into my body, all coincided at the same time as dealing with this breath issue that I had. But this was always a weak area, my throat, my lungs. And so the garlic became a really incredible remedy for me. So if I ever felt like I was getting sick and run down, I'd pop more garlic pills, the aged garlic, and it just supported me, so that I went from someone who got a cold and then got bronchitis within a day of having a cold to someone who generally, knock on wood, never gets colds. Yes, I get the occasional one, but hardly ever. And if I do, it's gone usually within a day, because I'm taking lots of garlic and I know what to do for my body. I found my immune reset. And that's what this is about. You know, when we're looking at longevity, we have to know our body. So many incredible people have said the first thing when we're looking at having a long, healthy life is know yourself, know thyself. Because if we know ourselves, we know, okay, this is my weakness, this is what I need to support it with. Because the resources are there. The planet has everything we need. For every eventuality, there is a plant, a herb, something to help us reset, to bring that vibration in. And I saw this with homeopathy when my oldest boy was 2, he had a terrible fever and he was laid on the bed really, really ill, eyes rolling back in his head, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Called my dad. Dad's always a great thing. What do I do? He's like, take him to hospital. I'm like, I'm not leaving the house. I don't want to move him. That doesn't feel right. What do I do? What do I do? Anyway, as fate would bring it, phone rings, answer it. An old friend who's a homeopath, hadn't spoken to him in years. He said, how are you? I said, well, really shit actually right now. This is what's happening. And he said, give your son one aconite, one every 15 minutes for an hour and a half, and he'll be totally fine. I was like, open up my homeopathic kit. Aconite's the one for like colds and runny noses, and kids get them all the time, and it was empty. And I was like, oh, bollocks. Called up friends. There was a friend round the corner. She had aconite. She dropped it round. He was literally like listless. I was really worrying. Gave him an aconite, got it in his mouth. After half an hour to 45 minutes, literally by 45-minute mark, he was sat up, smiling, laughing. Mummy, I'm hungry. Like nothing had happened. And I'm there going, oh my God, nervous wreck. But it was incredible seeing that, because what happens with homeopathy is a vibration. So the right vibration came into his body, readdressed him, realigned it, and boom, he was fine. And I'd given him homeopathics, but I was giving him belladonna because that was the one it said for fevers. Wasn't the right remedy for him. And so when we're looking at longevity, how can I live a long and healthy life? Well, that's why knowing your body, knowing what vibration we need to bring in, and sometimes it is trial and error. But it's also a deep trusting that we do know the answers. And for me, one of the things I always do in my work, it's about building a toolkit and taking things for a month, letting your body know what it is and then forgetting about it. And then when you need it, you've created that toolkit. It's in your box that your intuition can go, it's that one. That's what you need now. And it's such an effective thing, having that toolkit of knowledge and also physical muscle memory. So parasites, when we're looking at getting rid of them, one of the important things about clearing parasites is also clearing the detoxification pathways. And this is a real key. So a lot of people have what's known as the MTFHR gene mutation. And I think it's about 40% of people. I think that the people who have this gene mutation are actually people who are more open to what's going on, to the cosmos, to the energies. So this MTFHR gene mutation means that you can't methylate B vitamins properly. And that inability to methylate B vitamins, specifically like B6 and B12, mean that your detoxification pathways get blocked, so you can't clear things out of your system. And so when I do hair mineral analysis, I test people's hairs for heavy metals, for minerals. Quite often people have high heavy metals. They're getting higher and higher now. I've been doing this for a while, and the amount of heavy metals in people are going huge, and this is the next thing we'll be talking about. But if you start detoxing parasites or heavy metals from the body and their detox pathways aren't clear, it can't get out. So you're loosening it, and then it's floating around causing more problems. So you have to make sure these pathways are clear. So having methylated B vitamins is really important for opening up those detox pathways. Then you do the parasite cleanse, then you do the heavy metal detox, so that you can actually clear this stuff out of your body instead of recirculating it. One of the things that a lot of people struggle with nowadays is candida, which is linked to the whole parasite side of things. And everyone has candida. It's a fungal overgrowth, but that's really, it's important to have the candida in our system, but it needs to be in control. But because of the amount of sugars we're eating, but also, this is another really important part of it, candida is protecting the body from heavy metals. So the candida is drawn to heavy metals, and what it does is it goes around the heavy metal. So people have all this candida because they've got all this heavy metal in their body, because of all the stuff that's being sprayed in the skies, because of the amalgam fillings, because of the soil pollution. So people have these heavy metals, and the body's going, I'm trying to protect you, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta get rid of this candida. Let's take more and more stuff to clear the candida. And the body's like, we're trying to save you from the metal. What are you doing? So you get rid of the heavy metal at the same time as you clear the candida. You have to do them together, because the heavy metal is also almost encased by the candida, so you can't clear it so effectively. It's making sense to everyone? Great. So you have to do the two at the same time, but you need those pathways clear. Really important. One of the things that's so important when you're clearing parasites, when you're clearing candida, when you're clearing heavy metals, is charcoal. Charcoal is something that is such an important thing. It's so key for our health and well-being. There have been a lot of studies done on, unfortunately, poor mice with charcoal, and showing the lifespan of a mouse can increase by 10-fold on charcoal. And now more and more people are taking charcoal. And it's something so ancient, you know, it's been used for so long. And what the charcoal does is it binds to toxins and flushes them out of the system. You have to drink plenty of water though, otherwise you get a bit bunged up with it. So really important that you're having the water to help the charcoal flush things out.
And black poos.
And black poos, yeah. I once was in fact, Robin, I was doing food for a retreat of Robin, and someone was really worried that they had a problem because we're doing lots of beetroots in things, and they were worried that it was blood, but it wasn't, it was beetroots. Do you remember that? So yeah, you can have black poo, just like you can have bright red poo from beetroots. So the charcoal, very, very important for this cleansing. I take charcoal most days because I find it very, very supportive of my energy, my health, and it's just helping to clear out. When my middle son was very unwell, one of the things when I tested his hair, was sky high for heavy metals. And I'm like, you have a 99% organic diet. You drink very, very good filtered water. Like everything's organic. Like I don't use toxic stuff in the house. Where are you getting all this from? And the only thing I could think about is what's above us, what's in the air, because nothing else would bring that level of heavy metal into his system. Unbelievable. And you look at heavy metal toxicity, what does it do? Well, it causes so many mental health conditions. I've worked with people with psychosis, and their heavy metal, copper quite often, very, very high, off the charts. Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of heavy metals in vaccines. That wouldn't account for my son because he's not vaccinated. But yeah, the heavy metals in vaccines is another thing. The thiramycin, they changed it from the mercury to thiramycin because they thought people wouldn't know what it was called. But it gets into the line in between the brain and sits in that channel. But what's very interesting is that it seals after 18. But before 18, you can clear it. You can clear that heavy metal from the vaccines from when you're young. I mean, I think we can clear anything at any time, but you know, we are hugely powerful beings, and we don't just have the ability to physically clear things, energetically we can clear them. And I think that's the powerful thing when we work on all levels. You know, I've been a nutritionist for 21 years now. And when I first started, I was very much into the nutrition, and I was also a healer because I trained in Sekhem, which is an ancient Egyptian healing art, and Reiki and crystal healing. And so I was doing healing and I was doing nutrition, and they were both separate. And I was like, but they're not separate. They're not. We have to heal on all levels, and the physical is a really important part. And so often the physical is missed in this spiritual world. You know, we're all up here like, oh, doing all this work, and actually it's like this body, this being that we've come into, we have to look after it, because this is the vessel that allows us to communicate our message to the world. And that is such a profound thing. And that's what I learnt, you know, when I was doing that healing treatment. And that energy that came through, I realised how important my physical body was. And it really taught me that I have to honour this, because that's why I've been given this body. And sometimes we're given bodies with challenges because that's part of our mission. We have to overcome those challenges or work within them to move past pain, to move past things. And I look at my mum's life, and, you know, she died when I was 21, when she was 49. So she was very young. And I look at her and I think, well, she didn't overcome that illness, but her journey created who I am and really informed and inspired me to go out and find the truth in health and to really get to the bottom. And it's so lovely now working with people who have multiple sclerosis and being able to help them get into remission and seeing that staying, you know, and seeing them reversing things. That for me is so exciting, because it's like she lost her life to that, but she helped so many other people gain theirs because of the knowledge that that imparted. And that's such a beautiful thing. So clearing parasites, clearing heavy metals, making sure those pathways are open. This is so important when we're looking at longevity. Because if we've not got the right nutrient base in our body, it's very much harder for us to have a really long, healthy life. Now, those nutrients, interestingly, don't just come from food. They come from the air, they come from energy, they come from everything around us. But we have to be aligned to that. We have to be clear of everything else so we can absorb them. I had a lovely friend, Gosh, in India, who was a breatharian. And it was amazing being around him, because he had so much energy and vitality and vibrance. It was amazing. And at the time, you know, I was really into nutrition, and not on the level I am now, but very much the physical level. And I thought, I don't understand this. How are you not eating any food and thriving? Like, how can this be happening? And that's when I started to realise, you know, he would sit and he would look at a flower, and he would absorb the energy of that flower and all of the medicine of that flower just by looking at it. And how many times have we been feeling low and maybe seen a flower or gone and smelt a rose and gone, and our whole being shifts? Have you had that experience? It's incredible, isn't it? So we can receive nutrients and energy and sustenance from everywhere, if we're open to it. If we're open to receiving it. And there's something to be said, this is another important part of longevity, is fasting. All of the cultures who have centenarians who are very healthy have fasting as part of their regular life. Now, fasting can be done on many different levels, but it's getting the body, giving the body a break. So much of our energy is used up on digestion. And when we can allow our body to rest, and we can clear out. It comes to this detoxing. That's what fasting's doing. You're clearing your system out. You're resetting your body so that you can thrive, because so many of us are clogged up. So many people's guts are clogged up. Now, this is a very interesting thing. You want to have a long life? You think about the amount of space that our intestines take up, you know, how long they are. Most people's intestines and colons are filled with shit. How many people in life are full of shit in the world right now? A lot of people are full of shit, aren't they? On all levels. Yeah. And most people are constipated. If you go once a day, you're actually constipated. We should be going 3 times a day. We should be clearing the body out on a regular basis because we're allowing everything to flow. And what's happening is when the poo is sitting there, in there like that, it's being reabsorbed. So the body spends all this time getting all the stuff out of our body, all the toxins, getting it ready to be flushed out, and then it sits there, it's reabsorbed. Our poor bodies must be thinking, what the hell are we doing? The amount of wasted energy that we've got for things like that. So we need to make sure that we're clearing our system out, that we're going regularly, so that we have that flow of energy, we have that flow of movement. Because if you're starting to do parasite cleanses or heavy metal detoxes or any of these things, you do not want that sitting there. One of the interesting things when you look at things like cancer, one of the things they do is they put people on a lot of different illnesses. What do they put people on? Painkillers. Well, what do painkillers like morphine do, Oromorph? Blocks you up massively. So all of the stuff you're trying to detox is being reabsorbed. This is such an important key. We do not want our shit sitting in us. We want to flush it out. We want to keep it moving, because that flow of life, energy is flow, isn't it? Water is flow. Life should be a beautiful flow. So why are we stagnating here? And then also, if you think about that on a different level, so this area here, this is your sacral. This is your solar plexus. So let's look at both of those, because these are both kind of linked energetically when we look at constipation. We're blocking our joy. We're blocking our creative expression, because they're all linked. The organs are linked to the energetic centers. So if you feel a block in your creativity, well, maybe you've got too much poo in you. So let's start flushing out. Hydration is one of the keys. Salt water is brilliant. We talked about salt and the inversion of salt earlier, and this is such an important thing, putting a little bit of good salt, not table salt, into your water every day. So you're getting the salt water into your body. So important, and that helps to flush your system out. Eating fruits and vegetables helps to flush your system out. All of these things are good to help your body move. Now, some people struggle more than others because of our constitution. Some people are more constipated. Some people are more loose in their constitution, and that's fine. We want that middle ground. We want soft but formed, so it just slides out gently. And that's going to cause the least problems for everything. Because if you think about it, how you digest food is how you digest life. So do you struggle to break your food down? Do you struggle to eliminate the stuff from your life that's holding you back? Hopefully your system moves quite quickly then. But it's interesting when you start to look at it, because there's a mirror. And when we start changing energetically how we deal with things, it will also start changing the way things move in our body. So longevity, we've got community, building community, feeling that importance of community. We've got clearing our body out of parasites, of candida, of heavy metal. As I said, the heavy metal toxicity, when you look at copper toxicity, it's linked to psychosis, it's linked to so many things. So we need to start eliminating these things so our mind can work as it's meant to. Because we begin to think that that's how we're meant to be, that that's normal. Have you ever been like really, really healthy and then really unwell? And then you suddenly realize, actually, I was pretty healthy then. But then so if you're really unwell, and you're always really unwell, if you then suddenly become well, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize how bad I was for so long, because we become used to it, don't we? It's like it becomes our norm. And what's so important is that our norm is what it actually should be, us thriving. That's why, for me, a yearly parasite cleanse is really important. And I do a yearly big one, but I'm always taking things on a regular basis that are going to clear my system out of parasites, because I don't want them to take hold. I want my space to be my space. So clearing the heavy metals, super important. Coriander, a beautiful heavy metal detoxifier. Chlorella, zeolite. My favourite is coriander because it's so gentle. It's interesting, I hated coriander when I was younger. I thought it tasted like soap. It was the most disgusting thing on the planet. And now I absolutely love it. I don't know if I love it now because I know what it's doing. Sometimes that's the thing, isn't it? It's like when you know what something's doing, it's like, yes, this is great. I'm clearing heavy metals out of my system. I love that. The charcoal helps do that as well. Shilajit is another great one. Shilajit I love, it's one of my favourite things. And when we look at like key longevity substances, Shilajit has got to be up there. So Shilajit is a black tar that oozes out of the rocks in the Himalayas. And some of you have had Shilajit from me before. Shilajit has 82 trace minerals. It's a natural antihistamine, which is incredible. I've used it many times. I'm allergic to wasps, and when I get stung, I don't ever have anything around me to take other than Shilajit. Shilajit within 10 minutes will stop an allergic reaction for me. But disclaimer, if you have any allergies, please consult a medical healthcare practitioner and don't just rely on Shilajit. But that comes to knowing your body. Like I don't want to have something, but if I feel like my throat's closing, I'll go to hospital. I don't want to die. But I know my body, so I know what to do and I know my response. And that's what's so important. It's knowing our body. So more and more coming in to listen to my body. One thing I do every day, and it's something I advise everyone do. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I say hello to my body. I say hello to the world, and I just think about what I'm grateful for. And then after I've thought about what I'm grateful for, I put my hand on my belly and I tune into my body and I say, what one thing do you need today? And I only say one thing because I'm sure there's a long list, but then I'm not going to do them. And this is one thing I learned years ago, is we're like radios, you know, our body, our intuition, it's like a radio receiver. And it's always there. But what happens, like a child who asks for help all the time and you don't give it, they stop asking. Well, our body does the same. It's like, well, you're not going to listen, so why should I bother telling you? I'm not going to waste my energy. So that's so important that we actually listen. So that's why I just say one thing. Because we can listen to one thing, can't we? It's like I can action one thing. You give me 10 things, I might be struggling. So I want to succeed. And I want you to succeed. And that's the key. We want to set ourselves up for success, not for failure. Because then we get into this lethargy of like, I didn't do it today, whatever. And it's a downward spiral. So it's like, what one thing? So before I finish today, I want you to think of one thing you're going to do from the information I've given you. Not 10, because you won't do it, but one thing from what I've been talking about. So have that mulling through your head as I carry on talking. So when I wake up, I ask my body, what one thing do you want? And for me, what this does is it brings me into my body. It brings me into that connection with my body. And then I ask my heart, what one thing do you want me to do to help me be more connected and more open in giving and receiving love? Because ultimately that for me is such an important thing. When I was in Peru, we had this beautiful ceremony with the coca leaf. And it wasn't the first ceremony, it was a different one we were invited to with these elders. And there were all these people, there were so many people, and the elders did this incredible fire ceremony. And you were given 3 coca leaves and you put your intention on, and then you took them to the shaman and you blew them 3 times, your intention, and you handed him the coca leaves and he put it into the fire and said prayers. And I had my intention. It was nice. It was like light fluffy intention. And I got to the shaman and I held them and I went to put my intention in, and I can feel it now. This power rushed through me, and the intention that came through is, you are offering your life in divine service. And I was like, okay, that's my intention. My life is now to be in divine service. And I put it into the coca leaves and just sobbed. It was just like I could feel this like bolt of energy moving through me. The shaman took the leaves, put them in the fire, and then hugged me. And it was the most incredible moment of, I feel like I'm in divine service, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But it was such a powerful anchoring in of that. And I don't know why I was saying that. I got lost in remembering it and feeling it. It was, you know, it's so beautiful to be in that flow, and we are all here to be of divine service. That's why we're all here, because we all have a mission, we all have a purpose, and we all have to remember what that is. And it may be just to spread love through your smile. That's where I was going. So every day connecting into my heart, how can I be more open to give and receive love so that I can be in that flow of divine service? Because I'm in that space of love, and I don't always succeed. Yesterday I was in a terrible mood, packing up to come here, and then we danced and I felt such joy dancing. Did anyone else dance last night? It was so lovely, wasn't it? Had no idea what I was doing, and I just laughed and laughed and laughed, and I went to bed and I was like, oh, I'm back. Oh, that's nice to be back. Because you know when you get taken over by something and you're like, oh God, this isn't me. Why am I so grumpy? But coming back is such a nice thing, to that remembering of actually this is where I'm meant to be. So every day connecting into your heart and asking how you can be more open to give and receive love. Such a beautiful thing. And then it starts you off in that aligned space, because if we want to live a long life, if we've got purpose, it helps you get up in the morning. Who here feels they've got purpose? So if you don't feel like you're quite there, is it sometimes a struggle to get up? Because it's like, well, what's the reason? Like for me, knowing I've got a mission, it's like that accelerates me out of bed in the morning. Not every morning, but most mornings. Some mornings my body's like, stay in bed and just rest. And that's okay too, because we have to have rest. It's that cycle. But knowing that I've got a purpose, and this is a really interesting thing, because reishi mushroom, I can't go without talking about mushrooms. I talk a lot about mushrooms, so a lot of you have heard me talking about mushrooms. But one of the amazing things about reishi mushroom is in China, reishi mushroom is known as the soul mushroom, because it helps connect us into our soul's purpose. How beautiful is that? And I remember my younger brother, really disconnected. When he was 17, our mum died. And he threw himself into work, totally disconnected. He was a beautiful being. He still is a beautiful being, but he was very on it before that. And then he just shut down. His whole being just went boom. Because he was very close. And 17 is a young age to have your mum die. And it was, about 6 years ago now, he became very unwell. He was an alcoholic. He was working 90 hours a week, owned 4 pubs, not in a good space. Liver was packing in. He came to me and I'd been trying to help him, as you do, being an older sister. And he was always like, because I look quite a lot like our mum. So he was like, stop mothering me. You're not my mother. So he came to me and he said, will you help me? And I said, well, will you listen? And he said, yeah. I said, then I'm definitely, I've been trying to help you for years. Took you bloody long enough. No, I didn't say that. And I got him changing his diet, working with the mushrooms. And what's amazing is I asked him recently, I said, what do you think made the biggest difference in your transformation? He said, the mushrooms. He said, I feel like, and he's not a kind of spiritual person. He said, I feel like it's helped me remember who I am. I was like, yes. Such a beautiful thing, and he's done so many amazing things. During COVID, he set up a charity and they were making 3,000 meals a day. He was in the kitchen because he owns pubs. He had all this space to feed people who couldn't afford to eat. So just distributing them around London, and really an amazing, amazing person. I designed the All You Need Superfoods because of him, with him, which is an amazing blend of everything you need. Because he was like, look, I'm fed up of taking all these separate things. Can you just make it into one? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, try. So that's where that was kind of born out of. But having purpose, if we want to live a long life, if you have no purpose and you're just floating from thing to thing with no real anchoring into why you're here, it's very hard to have a long life. And that was one of the things they found in the blue zones, was that everyone felt they had purpose. And that purpose doesn't have to be, I'm going to change the world. That purpose could be, I tend to the vegetables, or I look after the cows, or, it doesn't have to be grandiose. We live in a world where we think our purpose has to be this huge, massive thing. And planting vegetables is a huge, massive thing. Looking after the earth, giving that love back to the earth, such a powerful thing. So whatever your purpose is, and if you don't know what it is, sit on the earth, sit behind a tree, beside a tree. Oak trees are very good to help with that as well. I do a year-long program in Earth Wisdom Mentorship, and we're currently on oak. And oak is about strength, and it's about that real sense of community. It's about really coming together. If you think about a beautiful oak trees were the place where people gathered. They were the place where councils met. Druid actually comes from the word for wise oak, because it was about this connection. The oak was that strength. It was the deep roots, but also the reaching out to the cosmos. Because we are earth beings, but we're also cosmic beings. So we have to have these two beautiful things. Some of you have heard the story. I was never a grounded person before when I was younger. Really struggled to be grounded. I didn't like the feeling of being rooted. So they'd always say, imagine you're a tree and your roots are going into the earth. And I was like, I feel heavy. I feel constricted. I don't want to be a tree because I feel like I'm not moving enough. Oh, I don't like this. And when I learned about the mycelium, which is the mushroom's network, that changed it, because I was like, oh, maybe I could go into that and go into everything. I could allow my consciousness to move, not just stuck in this tree, but it can then expand into all the trees and all the plants. And suddenly the whole world opened up and I was like, this is the kind of grounded I like. Because there's no limit. You know, a tree can be, it's beautiful, but if we just anchor into that tree, it's limiting us, isn't it? To however deep that tree's roots are. But when you then allow that consciousness to expand from that tree into everything through the mycelium, and the deeper we root down, the higher we can rise, the more we can connect. It's like the oak tree, the deeper its roots go, the more its branches can expand out into the cosmos. And that's what we're meant to be. I don't know if any of you have ever done Qigong. The main principles in Qigong is that connection between the earth, feeling the earth flowing up through your body and then pulling the cosmos down. And they always meet in the heart. So this is, for me, when we look at longevity, you look at cultures that have this as a key, the Chinese, the Taoists, these philosophies anchor in longevity into the being. If you look at the ancient Chinese scripts, they've been working with medicinal mushrooms for over 2,000 years. Over 2,000 years ago, they said the reishi was the soul mushroom. But it was also reishi and chaga were the king and queen of immortality. So these things were incredible longevity tonics, and there are so many of them out there. Astragalus is another incredible one. Schisandra, amazing. These things are powerful, powerful medicines. The earth is full of such powerful medicine to help us really live that long, fulfilled life, if we choose to. But there are those key things we have to do. I'm going to ask you some questions. See if you remember. So if we want to live a long, strong life, shout out one of the things we've got to do.
Sense of purpose.
Sense of purpose. What else? Community. Joy. What else? Heavy metals. Cleanse. Yeah, we've got to get rid of the heavy metals. What else? Parasites. Salt. Well done. We've got to have salt. Good salt. Anything else? Medicinal mushrooms. We've got to start bringing in the longevity herbs, So we clear our system out. Great. We've reset. We're doing some fasting. We're drinking good water. So we're making sure that we've got this channel. We're flowing. Our energy's flowing. Our poo is not constricted. We're clearing out our bowels. So we're in this space. We've detoxed. We've got a sense of purpose. Our body's great, but now we need to bring into our body those things that are really going to take it to the next level. Those things going to help us to be vibrant and thrive. So this is where the mushrooms really come in and play such a key part. For me, mushrooms are, they're probably my favourite thing. I don't even have words for them. They're just so incredible. I spoke at the Glastonbury Symposium 2 weeks ago, and my book, 7 Magical Mushrooms, sold out. It will be back in stock next week. But I spoke about, it was very interesting, the talk. It was about the evolving consciousness through plants and mushrooms. And this is part of the whole longevity thing. It's like when you look back at our history and you look back at how we've used and worked with plants and mushrooms, not just as tools, and this is a really important part of the whole puzzle. If we use the earth, just as this is going to help me live a long time. So I'm going to take this, 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 I'm going to take this. It's not going to help us live a long life. Because all we're doing is taking, and that energy of taking is not a nice thing. It has to be this reciprocal energy. So what are we going to give to the earth? What are we going to give to these plants? How are we going to create this beautiful flow? One of the most important things is that we have that deep honouring and respect for the earth and the medicines that are there. And interestingly enough, if you, in the Celtic tradition, if you look at, has anyone heard the term an imbued item? Harry Potter, they talk about imbued items a lot. So an imbued item would be like a wand or a staff that had the energy of that tree or plant in it. So if you look at the Druidic Celtic traditions, they would ask the tree. Let's say they were cutting, we did this for blackthorn when we were doing blackthorn. We went, well, I do this all the time, but I was teaching this on my Earth Winds and mentorship. It's like when you cut that bit of wood from the tree to make a wand or a staff or whatever it is, if you just cut it, that tree knows you're about to cut it, can sense it. So what it does is it pulls its energy back, it withdraws its energy from that limb because it doesn't want to leave it in there. You're about to cut it off. But if you say to the tree, please, may you keep your energy in here so that I can use this for healing or whatever it is, the tree will say yes or no. You'll hear it. I've done this with so many people and they're like, I don't hear things. I'm not sensitive. I'm not psychic. How am I going to hear? It's like, you'll know that. And I've done it so many times, even just picking blackberries with people and I'm doing foraging things and I'm like, just ask. And they're like, oh, it's not going to work. And they're like, oh my God, I heard something. I heard a yes or a no. And sometimes it will say no. It's not for you right now. And interesting, I was doing this on a foraging course and there was I can't remember what it was, there was a plant here. The person asked and it said no. I said, go and ask a different one, the same type, but go and ask a different one. And a different one said yes. Why? I don't know. But this imbuing of energy. So if you're making medicine, so we can buy tinctures, we can buy all these different medicines and they can have very different effects. I've had people come to me and say, oh, I've tried mushrooms, I didn't really do anything. And I'm like, well, try this one. Not blowing my own trumpet or anything, but I talk and I communicate with all the plants that I work with for all of my things so that I'm asking them to retain their energy in the thing. So it's not just like someone's gone out and harvested and there's no energy left in there. Yes, you'll get the physical energy of it. You'll get the physical nutrition because that's not going to disappear. But the energetics is so important. So when we ask something to be imbued, it holds that energy. So then the supplements we're taking, the things we're working with, we've asked permission. Instead of me just going, oh, I like your hat, I'm going to take that, thanks very much. It's not very nice, is it? But if I said, oh, could I borrow your hat? It's really nice, I need a bit of shield from the sun. You'd probably say, yeah, of course, there you go. You might say, no, I need it. But it's a very different exchange, isn't it, than me just going, I like that, I'm taking that. Or I like that flower, I'm just going to take that. Instead of saying, I love you, beautiful flower, please may I have you and work with you and share your beauty with others. That feels so different, doesn't it? And then also potentially leaving part of yourself there as well. So maybe offering a piece of your hair in exchange or offering something that you've got to the plant or the tree so that there is this exchange, or just the gratitude can be the exchange as well. So having this exchange, so we're creating this reciprocity is such an important thing in everything we do. So when we're looking at longevity, when we're looking at how can we really be this optimum version of ourselves, the most important part is the remembering that we are part of this earth and we're not separate. This is the most important thing out of anything that I say, is that remembrance. That we are one with it all. And also when you look at it like that, if we're one with it, if we are part of this earth, why would we want to just break our arm off? Well, we wouldn't, would we? Yep. But if it's done with this level of thinking, actually, this is part of my being. I am a cell in this beautiful planet. So I want also, this is part of the responsibility for our own selves. It's like, well, actually, if we're part of this earth, do we not have a responsibility to look after ourselves so that we can be a healthy, flourishing, vibrant cell of this earth, as opposed to a parasite on this earth? Because we're talking about clearing parasites. Well, we don't want to be a parasite, do we? We want to be supportive and loving and kind as much as we can to the earth. So, keys to longevity. We've got to look at the inversions as well. Some of you weren't here when I was talking about these inversions. This is super, super important that we look at these inversions. Let me just see what time it is as well. Okay, great. We look at the inversions. We look at where they're saying one thing and what that means, because this is a huge part of the picture of longevity, but it's taking our power back when we can look with discernment at things and we can find the truth as opposed to the bollocks that we're being told. And we can find the medicines that are our medicines, and also remembering we don't have to take massive doses of things. We don't have to get out of our minds. I mean, it's nice to get out of our mind in a different way, but we can connect through vibration. We can switch our mind off in different ways. We can come into that resonance through those medicines. But the most important thing is that we have that sense of purpose and community. It's really, really key for longevity. And also that we feel supported. How many times do we walk around life and feel like we're alone? Anyone feel that ever? Doing it all alone? And it's a lot, isn't it? When you feel like you've got this weight on your shoulders, the weight of the world, and I've got to do it all alone. But we don't. Because if we're a cell on this beautiful earth, we're never alone. And we just have to ask, yeah.
Plus, we are supported by our unseen friends.
Yes, totally.
Who are there for us.
We are, and we're supported by all the earth spirits and the plant spirits and the tree spirits. There's so much support around us. But one of the keys to claiming that support is asking. Asking for help. So I want you to take a minute. I'm going to open up to questions in a second. I want you to take a minute and I want you to think about one thing that you need support with right now in your life. What do you need support with? And if you've got a pen and paper, write it down. It's so important writing things down. What do you need support with? And then thinking about that to the next level. Okay, so you need support with something. How can you get that support? What does it look like? Is there any action steps that you could take? Or is it just that you're putting it out to the universe? Because that's a massive one. Just putting it out there. I need this support to come in, please. And being open to how that may come in, because it may look very different to how you think, as it so often does. Have you ever asked for something and then it's come in a totally different way and you've got the end result, but you're like, well, I didn't really want it that way. So being quite specific is always a good thing. So what support do you need? And the other thing is, what one thing are you going to do from this talk? What one thing do you want to do after leaving here? And I don't mean right away when you leave here, but coriander's amazing. Yeah.
And it's saffron as well.
Yeah. I love coriander. It's beautiful. And you can grow it. And then you can have that connection to the plant itself, which is such an amazing thing. You know, one of the things that's so important for longevity, and I haven't really touched on this, is fresh food. You know, eating real fresh food. And if you don't have a garden to grow, having even just pots on your windowsill so that you're getting fresh life force in all of your meals, this makes such a difference to our energy levels if we get that fresh energy as opposed to something that is wrapped in plastic or dead. You know, it's not got the vibration. I grow loads of things and it's so beautiful growing things. I love it. And seeing the energy of the things growing, I've got into electroculture. There's a great talk tomorrow by Ray Bacon. He's going to be talking about electroculture. It's incredible, you know, working with electroculture. We grow veganically, so using vegan organic principles, so we don't use any animal inputs, which is amazing because the animal input, the manure has, you know, worming pills in it. It has herbicides and pesticides. There's a lot of things that go into the manure from whatever the horse or cow or whatever it is has consumed. So this is a really important part for me. It's not having these outside things, because when we're looking at the longevity, part of it is, okay, well, what am I putting into my body? Where are these toxins coming from and where can I eliminate them? And organic food is a massive part of that, because we're not polluting the earth and we're not destroying the soil, which is so important, because we talked about the gut a bit and we talked about clearing out the parasites. The soil is a reflection of our gut. So the more the soil is beautiful and has diversity, the more our gut will, because that soil contains bacteria, it contains nutrients. That soil is what's going to help us thrive. If the soil is dead, then whatever's grown in it is going to be dead. And yes, they can spray it and input NPK, which is only 3 nutrients. But that's not what we're meant to live on. So really re-nourishing the soil, loving the soil. You know, we make nettle and comfrey fertilizers for our garden. I put my menstrual blood on the garden, Giles peas in it, because male urine is better than female urine. Don't know why, but, huh? Yeah. So, you know, it's putting these things, the love back into the soil and giving thanks. You know, we've got these pumpkins. I'm doing a growing project with the children at the school, which the Vegan Organic Network have funded. Loads of great stuff. We're going to have a polytunnel. We've been growing. I've been teaching them how to then harvest, and we've made healing balm, which is amazing, showing children how to make a balm from lavender and calendula and yarrow, and telling them the stories about it. It's such a powerful thing, because it really changes their relationship with plants. Because when you can go out and pick something and go, this does this, oh, that's amazing, and you're getting them to smell it and say, how does this make you feel? Because they don't know what it is, and they're like, oh, this makes me feel calm, or this you know, we all know what the plants do, but we've forgotten and we're worried, aren't we? So many people are scared. Oh, what if I do the wrong thing? Oh, I don't know. But I don't know. I'm not an expert. It's like, but actually, we've got to this point in life. So we are all experts, because it's in our DNA, because we are part of it. It is us. And how many, yes, people have died from poisonings, but generally, we wouldn't be here as a species if we didn't have that intuition of going, this is good, this isn't good. You know, you have a knowing sometimes. You look at something and go, that doesn't look like I should really touch it. Looks a bit poisonous. So having that awareness, but also knowing that some poisonous things in the right dose are very powerful medicines. If we go back in time, you know, well, foxglove made into digitalis, a heart medicine, highly toxic if not taken in the right form. Belladonna, another very powerful medicine used in micro doses. Fly agaric mushroom can be very toxic to the body, but used in the right doses, prepared the right way, was said to connect people into the gods, and is also an incredible pain reliever. Because that's another thing about longevity, isn't it? I mean, I could keep talking for hours, and I know I've only got 10 minutes? 5 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, oh my God. Fly agaric, incredible. You know, what it does is it goes in and releases trauma from the fascia of the body, so it helps to release that. If anyone wants to try some, I've got a lovely balm I make, which you can try on my store back there. But pain balm, and it's got CBD, frankincense. He's just using it right now. Reminded me of it because I saw Dan putting it on his eczema. It's incredible. It's non-psychoactive when applied topically, but when applied topically, what happens is it goes in and it releases this trauma that we're holding in our body, because we hold so much in our body. And part of longevity is releasing. We need to let go of the trauma that's held in our cells, because our cells just keep replicating. They just carry that trauma on. And sometimes that's not even our trauma, it's generational trauma. So the more we can have tools that help us to release and go in, and the fly agaric is so amazing for that, because it's going in and it's opening up. All the mushrooms have this ability to help us release trauma and create new neural pathways in the brain, which is so important, because what happens is we have a traumatic episode and we create this neural pathway, and then we just keep running that same neural pathway. Whereas we need that breaker to come in and go, no, you don't need to keep doing this. We may have released the actual trauma years ago on a level, but we're still running the same neural pathways. So things like psilocybin, fly agaric mushroom, lion's mane, reishi, psychoactive, non-psychoactive, help to rewire these pathways so we can make different decisions, so we can actually start moving on a different track that is for our highest good. I was going to open up to questions, but I've run out of time, so thank you very much for listening. I've got a mailing list over there if you'd like to know more about what I do, and lots of amazing products. Thank you very much.